Hello, my name is Roch Courcy. I'm with Debora Barkun from the employee resource group Visible Women. This CBC Radio-Canada's group exists for more than a year now. Debora is working for our shared services team in the People and Culture department to be exact. When a new senior director joins the team, they do an Ask Me Anything session. This inspired Debora for this podcast. She wants to talk about her reality as a woman and as a Black woman. This podcast is based on her own experience and questions she was really asked. Debora decided to talk about questions that shouldn't be asked or asked differently and answering them. You're invited to listen to this interview. So, hello, my name is Roch Courcy. I'm here in Ottawa with Debora Barkun from the Visible Woman ERG. We are talking from our Ottawa station. So, welcome, Debora. Can you tell me about the CBC Radio-Canada ERGs in general?
Sure can. So the ERGs are the employee resource groups, and they are for minority employees to find support. There are a few of them. Actually, there are 7 ERGs across Canada through CBC. I belong to the Diversify ERG, which is based out of Toronto. That pretty much so is a grouping of all, let's call them others. All others belong to that group. And then it splinters off into smaller groups. So the one that I belong to here in Ottawa is the Visible Women Bring Value. And that is for visible minority women who are located in the Ottawa area. We do have some people from Montreal as well as from Toronto who participate in our group. We are a bilingual group, so it helps for the people who are in Montreal who are francophones. And our goal is to support one another, to disseminate information to our colleagues, and to bring it out into the community as well, to which I am very big on because I've got small children and I want more for them. And I believe in leading by example. And as a visible minority, it's important to make your space and to cultivate that kind of diversity, to show that a different voice isn't a bad voice, that a different voice actually contributes to the conversation. And that is what we hope to bring as a group to Ottawa.
Okay, cool. So you talk about Diversify. What is it exactly other than just an umbrella for other
So
ERGs?
Diversify, they give out a lot of information. They are mostly on the English side.
Yeah.
They are in contact with the upper management at CBC. They are trying to make changes, and change is always slow, but they're definitely moving forward with it. They're putting in place checkpoints especially in terms of production, like how information is disseminated, to make sure that it isn't biased, to make sure that minority groups aren't being railroaded, to make sure to really be supportive in terms of supporting the community. I mean, CBC is a community-based programming. We're not thinking community station, but the whole point is to support the community.
Yeah.
And sometimes what you find in terms of production, in terms of shows, in terms of news, there's a slant. There is something that can harm a community more than it can help a community. So Diversify is really attempting to right that. They're trying to make sure that the information that is sent out is correct, that it is checked, that it is unbiased, that it is supportive, that when you mention that somebody was gunned down, that it is relevant whether that person was brown or black or whatever it is. Like, sometimes things are put in and there is no reason for it other than to call out an entire people, but it has no bearing on the actual situation. So I find Diversify is really working with the association to make those changes.
And what is today's the topic we're going to talk?
So today's conversation is, so I work for People and Culture at Shared Services.
Yeah.
And whenever somebody new in the senior directors come in, they have an Ask Me Anything session. So, ask me anything about my job, ask me anything about, my family life, ask me anything. And I thought, oh, okay, that's awesome. But I've been at CBC for 13 years, and as somebody who is a minority, and I am a minority in my own department, I have had people ask me anything, to which you have to stop and go, no, you should not ask me that. Like that is not an okay question. So the questions that we're going to discuss today are questions of ask me anything that I'm going to answer honestly there's no sarcasm. You asked it, you were thinking it, and odds are if you thought it, somebody else did as well. So why not try and answer it?
Mm-hmm. Good. So we're going to play a little game like this. So one of the questions is why can't black people swim?
Why can't black people swim? Okay, so first, I do not represent all black people. Which is always funny when somebody comes up to me and says, why can't black people boop, 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 boop. I'm like, I was not elected president of all black people. I am not royalty of all black things. But as a black woman, I will answer it for myself and for the people that are around me. That said, I can swim. I can swim laps for a very long time. All of my children can swim. I suppose all of their children will be able to swim because I just think it's really important to be able to swim. That said, I didn't learn to swim till I was about 10 years old. And then I don't know that I learned to do laps as much as not drown. They wanted to know that I'd be safe in the water and that I wouldn't drown. So I learned to not drown. My parents came from the Caribbean. I was born in Montreal. We grew up lower middle class. Actually, we grew up working poor, and in my teens, we became lower middle class.
Okay.
And the neighborhood that I lived in, there wasn't a pool for us to go to. For us to go to the pool to learn to swim, we had to change neighborhoods. Who was going to be bringing me to that? My parents worked shifts. My mother usually worked night shifts. My father worked the morning shift. So everybody's sleeping all the time.
Yeah.
Go occupy your time. I ended up going to the Black Community Center, and there I learned to do ballet. And my brothers learned martial arts, and that was the focus. So I learned other things. I just didn't learn to swim. That said, my best friend who lived across the street from me was white. She also didn't learn to swim. Neither did anybody on my street. They didn't learn to swim. Nobody asked them that question. They're asking me that question. And I always thought it was an isolated thing. So to have a colleague ask me that, why don't you swim? Or not you, but you as a people swim, I thought, you're just being silly. But if you go on the internet and you Google, why can't black people swim? You will get pages of people asking a question that makes no sense. No. It just, of course we swim. Yeah. But if you go socioeconomics, then that's a different question altogether. Because here in Ottawa, if you go over to the Foster Farm area, the Pinecrest area, where it is a lower income area, they don't have a pool. There is one at the Boys and Girls Club, and please note, at the Boys and Girls Club, they have bathing suits and towels for the kids so that when they do come in and they are able to take swimming classes, they have that available for them. Yeah. So that means you have children who, they don't have a way to pay for this. Yeah. It is free for them to go there if they can get to it. And their things are provided for them. Versus if I go to one in Nepean, to a private pool, you're talking $200 a session. That's maybe 10 classes. If I am able to go to the city ones, if I'm going for a high ratio class, you're talking $100. Mm-hmm. So if I'm a low income person, is my priority really to give swimming lessons to my kids or just to make sure they don't drown? Yeah. So that has to be taken into account. Socioeconomics. It's a very basic thing. A splash pad versus a swimming pool. Everybody will have access to a splash pad. You're not necessarily going to have access to a swimming pool where you learn to do lots and lots and lots of laps.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Another thing that people tend to say a lot is, "I'm not racist, but."
Ah, I love that one. That's my favorite. So this is how I usually take that question. You are racist. You are sexist. You are bigoted. You are whatever. Because if you have to say anything but, that but negates everything that you said before it.
Yeah.
So if you start a story with, I don't mean to be racist, but there was this black woman in the line and she was being so slow. I don't understand why she has to do that. Well, that means you have a beef with black people. That is how I am going to take it. If you want to just tell me about a lady who was doing her job poorly, then that's a thing, because there are plenty of people who do their jobs poorly. So to start it with, I don't mean to be racist, is essentially giving yourself an out to be racist. It is giving yourself an out to be sexist, it's giving yourself an out to be whatever it is that you're saying you're not being. And please note, whoever you're speaking to will read it accordingly. They know you're being those things. And I've had conversations that started with, I don't mean to be racist, but. And I've stopped them at the but and said, then don't say the next thing that is coming out of your mouth and you won't sound racist. But because they've gotten to it and they've committed to, I don't mean to sound racist, they're determined to give you this story. And so for me, it is now, how am I going to handle this story? You're determined to say whatever racist thing is about to come out of your mouth. I'm a person who is not in the majority. So I have to decide how I'm going to handle you. I have to decide what kid gloves I'm going to use. Am I going to learn to use this as a teachable moment? Am I just going to ignore it? Am I just going to laugh it off? There are so many levels that go through your one flippant sentence that I now have to handle, and that you don't have any responsibility on. Your responsibility was to not say that sentence. Your responsibility was me stopping you from saying it, and still you decided to persevere with that question. And now all the responsibility lies on me to either fix it, walk away from it, and make huge decisions about it, just so that you can have your moment. And that is something, again, not speaking for all Black people, but a lot of Black people can understand. It is a very strange moment when somebody is doing something so blatant and you have to decide how you're going to handle it and be aware for them, which should not be my responsibility. That isn't my responsibility. That said, it is one of those things that you recognize, and you're raised a certain way to recognize these things, right? Mm-hmm. So completely off topic, yet on topic, is my grandmother way back when. We were going to take the bus together. And there was a woman walking in front of us, and she had a cane, and she was just holding her cane out instead of down. And I couldn't understand why she would do that. And my grandmother made me step back, and she said, "That woman's racist." And I went, "Don't be crazy. Why are you going to see racism everywhere? Why are you going to do that?" And she said, "You'll see." And I said, "Okay." So we get on the bus, and my grandmother goes to sit at the front of the bus where this lady was. And she called her every name in the book, every racist, everything. And the reason why she had her cane out was because she didn't want a Black person walking in front of her. And I did not recognize it. And my grandmother, who was raised by her grandmother, who was her parents. So my grandmother was raised by her grandmother, who was raised by parents who were slaves, right? It's not that far away from my grandmother to understand where you fit in society. Like, this is how you handle society and recognize what you see right away. And that was my teachable moment where I was like, oh my, that's pretty spectacular. And she's like, now you have to decide how to handle it. We can fight back. We can say nothing. We can just speak to the bus driver and see if that changes anything. So again, there's my teachable moment. Move forward. I don't mean to sound racist, but I could do nothing. I could speak up. I can go speak to somebody else and say that's not appropriate. It all kind of follows suit with that. Like, your one thing is bringing all of this with it. Your flippant question is my grandmother's history. It is a legacy. It is an entire encompassing thing that has such a life, and you are able to just throw that out there and then say something fantastically racist and walk away and go, I'm an awesome person, leaving me with the decision of what to do with all of that. So before you say, I don't mean to anything, just don't. Because whatever it is that you're saying is meant to demean the next person.
Thanks for sharing your experience.
Thank you.
And don't miss out our next podcast.
I look forward to it. Thank you, Raquel.
Thank you.